Grandmother set down her fork, looked directly at my husband, and said, "I've been depositing $4,000 into that account every single month for 3 years. So why does my granddaughter look like she hasn't slept in a week and can't afford to fix her car?" The table went completely silent. I remember the exact sound of it. The clink of ice in someone's glass. Then nothing. My husband, Remy, didn't move. My mother-in-law, across from me, suddenly became very interested in her salad, and I sat there doing the math so fast my head hurt. $4,000 every month for 3 years. That was $144,000. I had never seen a single cent of it. Let me back up, because if I start from that dinner, you won't understand how we even got there. I met Remy when I was 26. He was charming in the way that certain men are charming, effortlessly, almost accidentally, like he wasn't even trying. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. I know how that sounds now. I know exactly how that sounds. But at 26, working double shifts at a physical therapy clinic and splitting rent with 2 roommates, a man who made you feel chosen felt like everything. We got married fast. Too fast, probably. 18 months after our first date, we were standing in his parents' backyard with a justice of the peace and 30 guests. My grandmother, Nana Bet, flew in from Tucson. She wore a yellow dress and cried the whole ceremony. She pulled me aside afterward and said, "You look happy, baby. Are you happy?" And I said yes because I thought I was. For about 8 months, I was. Then things started getting tight. Rennie worked in real estate development, which sounds impressive until you understand what it actually meant. Long, dry spells between commissions, deals that fell through, money that was coming, but never quite arrived. I was the one with the steady paycheck. I picked up extra shifts. I stopped buying coffee out. I made a spreadsheet and I stared at it at night, trying to figure out why we were always 30 days behind. Remy had explanations for everything. The market was slow. His partner had dropped the ball on a deal. There were fees, taxes, bridge loans, things I didn't fully understand and, I'm ashamed to admit, didn't push hard enough to understand. He was so calm when he explained it. So reasonable. He never got defensive. He just talked until I felt foolish for worrying. I started rationing things I shouldn't have been rationing. I have a connective tissue condition that requires a specific medication. Not optional, not take it when you feel bad, but take it every day or your joints deteriorate. It's expensive. Our insurance covered part of it, but I started skipping doses to make a bottle last longer because the copay was eating into rent. I told myself it was temporary, just until the next commission came through. Remy never skipped anything. He got new golf shoes in March. He joined a club downtown that cost $300 a month. When I mentioned it, gently, carefully, in the voice I'd learned to use when I raised money concerns, not accusatory, not emotional, just practical, he said it was an investment. Networking. You have to spend money to make money. I believed him. Or I made myself believe him, which is a different thing. What I didn't know, what I had no idea about, was that Nana Bet had found out about the medication situation 7 months earlier. My cousin had let it slip during a phone call, not trying to cause trouble, just mentioning it offhandedly. Nana Bet didn't say anything to me. She didn't call me upset or ask questions I'd have to dodge. She just started making deposits. $4,000 a month into a joint account she had set up when I got married. One she'd told Remy about at the time, thinking I knew, thinking it was a gift we'd managed together. She'd been sending money every single month and assumed, reasonably, that we were using it. When 7 months passed and she hadn't heard me mention it, hadn't seen any change, and heard through my cousin that I was still stretching my medication, something shifted in her. She didn't tell me. She called her attorney instead. I didn't know any of this. What I did know was that Remy's mother had started dropping hints, small ones, about how lucky Remy was to have married someone with such a supportive family. I thought it was just a weird mother-in-law comment. I smiled and changed the subject. The dinner was his parents' anniversary. Every year, his mother put on this production. Catered food, the good china, everyone dressed up. Nana Bet came because I asked her to. I wanted her there. She was, at that point, one of the only people in my life who made me feel like myself. We were on the main course when she asked the question. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even look angry. She just set down her fork, and in the same tone she'd used to ask someone to pass the bread, she asked why I looked exhausted and couldn't afford my car repair if she'd been sending money every month. Remy's father laughed. Not a real laugh. a confused one, like he thought he'd missed a joke. Remy's mother pressed her lips together, and Remy, my husband, took a slow sip of his wine. I said, "What account?" Nana Bet looked at me, not with pity, with something more precise than pity. She said, "The joint account, the one I set up when you got married. I've been depositing $4,000 every month for 36 months. I said, "I don't have access to any joint account." And then I watched my husband's jaw tighten, and I knew. I didn't know the details yet. I didn't know how deep it went, or how long it had been, or what exactly he'd done with the money. But I knew. The same way you know when someone's lying to you and you finally let yourself see it. It's not a slow dawn. It's a sudden, terrible daylight. Everything at once. Remy set down his glass. He said, "Bet, there must be some confusion. We've used that money for household expenses, obviously. I handle most of the finances, so I didn't ask you," Nana Bet said. He stopped. She reached down beside her chair and placed a folder on the table. A thick one, rubber-banded, the kind you get from a financial advisor's office. She'd had it there the whole dinner, sitting beside her chair on the floor, waiting. She slid it toward me. "I had some questions about the account 3 months ago," she said, still calm, still that same quiet voice. "So I asked someone to help me understand the transactions. I think you should look at those." I opened the folder with hands that were not entirely steady. The statements were organized by month, going back 3 years. Each deposit of $4,000 was highlighted in green. The withdrawals, hundreds of them, were highlighted in yellow. Golf membership. Charges from a clothing brand I'd never heard of. Restaurant tabs I didn't recognize. A weekend at a hotel in Scottsdale I hadn't been on. 2 charges from a jeweler. I buy my own jewelry. I don't own anything from that jeweler. I turned pages for a long time. No one spoke. When I looked up, Remy was looking at his father, not at me. His father, who was looking at the table. "The golf club," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "The $300 monthly membership that you said was for networking. That's was paid from this account, which I didn't know existed." I turned another page. "The hotel in Scottsdale in October. I was at my cousin's baby shower that weekend. You said you were visiting a client." Remy's mother made a small sound. I don't know what it was. Something between a syllable and a sigh. "I want to know what you spent $2,000 at a jeweler on," I said. "And I want to know who got it." "This is not the place. You've been telling me we couldn't afford my medication," I said. I didn't plan to say it. It just came out. "You've been letting me skip doses of something I need to function because we were tight. You knew about this account. You have had access to this account. And you let me ration my medication." The room was so quiet I could hear the neighbor's dog 3 houses down. Remy's father stood up. I don't think he meant to. It was involuntary. That standing, like his body made a decision before his brain caught up. He said, "Son," just the word, just that. Remy said, "I was managing the finances. I was trying to. Stop." That was Nana Bet. She said it the way someone closes a door, firmly, with finality. "I've already spoken with an attorney. The deposits were made as a gift to my granddaughter. Her name is on the account. The withdrawals made without her knowledge or consent are another matter entirely, and I've been advised on what that means." She paused. "I asked you both here tonight because I wanted it said out loud in front of witnesses before anything else happens." She looked at Remy. "You should call a lawyer." Remy looked at me for the first time since I'd opened the folder. I don't know what he was looking for. Softness, maybe. The version of me that smoothed things over, made herself smaller, found a way to believe the explanation. That version wasn't there. I picked up the folder and I put it in my bag. I left the table. I went to the bathroom and I stood over the sink and I breathed for about 2 minutes. Then I went back out, said goodnight to his parents, not coldly, not dramatically, just as a person exits a room. And I told Nana Bet I'd call her in the morning. She squeezed my hand and said, "I'm sorry it took me so long." I didn't say what I was thinking, which was that I was sorry it took me so long too, that I had bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize, trying to make the finances make sense, trying to be the steady one, trying not to be difficult about money, that I had skipped doses of my medication and told myself it was temporary and felt guilty for every small thing I spent while he was charging hotel rooms on an account I didn't know existed. I didn't say any of that at dinner. I saved it for my attorney. That was 11 months ago. The account had $4,200 in it when I finally gained full access out of 144,000 deposited. The rest had been withdrawn over 3 years. The forensic accountant Nana Bet hired found charges across 4 different cards I hadn't known Remy had opened, all tied back to the same financial spiral he'd been hiding since before we got married. The real estate business had been struggling for years. He'd been maintaining a lifestyle he couldn't afford and using my grandmother's money, along with 2 credit lines in both our names, to hold the whole thing together. My credit had been damaged without my knowledge. That took months and several very specific letters to start repairing. Remy's attorney reached out twice about a settlement. My attorney said no. At the divorce proceedings, I asked for full recovery of the funds from the marital estate, which had very little left in it, honestly. But we got what we could. Nana Bet's civil suit is separate and still ongoing. What I have now is my apartment, which is small and exactly what I can afford and mine. I have a prescription that I fill on time every single month, and I have not rationed it once. I have a salary I manage myself, a spreadsheet I actually understand, and a savings account that I check every Friday morning with something that I can only describe as quiet satisfaction. I have a better relationship with my grandmother than I have ever had in my life. We talk every Sunday. She told me recently that the night of that dinner, she'd rehearsed what she was going to say about 12 times in the car on the way over. She said she'd been scared I would be angry at her for going around me. I told her that the only thing I felt when she set that folder down was something I hadn't felt in a long time, like someone was in my corner. That's the thing about being managed and kept financially confused for years. You start to mistake the confusion for your own failing. You think you just don't understand money well enough, aren't paying close enough attention, should be doing more. You hand over the wheel because someone very calm and very confident tells you that you're better off not worrying about it. And you trust them because you married them, because that's what trust looks like when you're inside it. I understand money now. I understand it very well. And I will never again let someone else hold the keys to something that belongs to me. I think about the folder a lot, not the numbers inside it, though I know those numbers by heart now, but the image of it sitting on the floor beside my grandmother's chair for the entire dinner. She ate her salad. She made small talk. She complimented the centerpiece. And the whole time, that folder was there, waiting. There's something in that image that I keep coming back to. Remy was careless because he believed I wouldn't look. He counted on my trust being a kind of blindness, and for a long time he was right. I didn't look. I smoothed things over and believed the explanations, and told myself that not understanding the finances was a personal failing, not a system someone had designed to keep me confused. That's what financial manipulation does, quietly. It makes you feel stupid instead of stolen from. What Nana Bet did was the opposite of careless. She noticed something was wrong when I couldn't even admit it to myself. She didn't panic. She didn't call me crying. She sat with what she knew, found the right people to help her understand it fully, and then she walked into that dinner with everything she needed. That's not luck. That's what it looks like when someone refuses to be outmaneuvered by someone counting on them to do nothing. I spent a long time after that night feeling angry at myself for missing it, for letting years go by while someone drained an account I didn't know existed. I've had to make peace with the fact that I was doing what people do when they love someone, extending trust, assuming good faith, filling in the gaps with the most generous possible explanation. That's not stupidity. But I've also had to be honest with myself about the moments I didn't ask questions I should have asked, because the asking felt like it would start a fight I wasn't ready to have. Choosing peace over clarity cost me a lot. I won't make that trade again. What I understand now, in a way I couldn't have understood before, is that integrity isn't just about whether you treat other people honestly. It's also about whether you're honest with yourself. Whether you look at the thing in front of you and call it what it is, even when it's inconvenient, even when it changes everything. Remy had none of that. He built an entire life on the assumption that no one would check. And the moment someone did, it collapsed in about 40 minutes at a dinner table. The hardest part wasn't the money. The hardest part was rebuilding the confidence to trust my own judgment again, to believe that I could read a bank statement, manage a budget, make a financial decision without someone calm and authoritative talking me out of my own instincts. That confidence doesn't come back all at once. It comes back in small moments. The first time I signed a lease by myself. The first month I hit my savings goal. Every Friday morning when I open my banking app and the number makes sense and it's mine. I have that now. I earned it the hard way, which I think is the only way it sticks. Nanabet asked me recently if I was angry at her for not telling me sooner, for going to an attorney before she came to me. I told her the truth, no, because I know myself well enough to know that if she'd come to me first, I probably would have defended him. I would have found a way to explain it. I wasn't ready to see it until it was sitting on a table in front of me with a rubber band around it. Sometimes the most important thing someone can do for you is wait until you can't look away.